All right, welcome to YWR. Gold is hot. It's over $3,700 an ounce. Who could have imagined it? Well, we imagined it. And it's on everyone's mind. And so we thought we'd bring back Jeremy Gray, our favorite gold mining CEO. Jeremy, good to see you. Thanks for dropping in and giving us your views.
Thanks so much, Eric. Yeah, we're super bullish, and I suspect we'll see 5,000 in the coming months. So it's going to be, hold on to your hat. This is going to be quite a ride.
Wow. I mean, Jeremy, just to roll the tape back, it was a year ago. It was September last year, and gold was at 2,500-ish. And you made some bold predictions that I'd say have been pretty good. The first one was that you said gold would be $4,500 an ounce by September this year. So not, we're not at $4,500, but back then to say, when gold was at 2,500 and it, was acting well, but not going up that much, that was a tremendous call. And I think no one could have predicted that. Well, you obviously did, but 3,700 is still surprising to be here. But you also said a few other things. You said it's going to be a particularly good time for gold miners, and the operating margins are going to be like better than ever before, because especially in emerging markets, those currencies are not going to strengthen appreciably, and energy costs, industrial metal costs will likely stay low. Steel, diesel, all these things are not going to be strong. And so gold is going to be the only game in town. And so you're going to get really good profitability out of gold mining this cycle, which that was an interesting part that nobody was expecting. I mean, some people were bullish on gold, I remember, but they were all poo-pooing actually owning the miners. They said, oh, that always happens. People own gold miners instead of the metal, and it never works. And you were like, no, this is actually going to work really well. And just to say that, that has been
that's why we wrote this theme called "We're in the new golden era for gold miners," where you don't have those drag effects of strong local currency and strong oil price. So it really is nirvana for producers. Q3s are going to be off the clock. Q4s are going to be out of this world. GDXJ has gone up 110%, I think, this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if it doubles in the next 4 months again. It must be the best performing asset class in the world. And the great news is very few people are in the trade. I don't think they are they? They're still not really in the trade.
So I look at hedge fund holdings about every 6 to 8 weeks, and it is de minimis. Hedge funds owning gold or gold miners, they're all, it's, what you would expect. It's tech stocks. And you've spoken about this before. And you made a great point about this, Jeremy, in the past. You've that it's not seen as sophisticated to own gold, right? Everyone likes to talk about Bitcoin or AI or cloud computing, whatever, but it's kind of seen as, you say, you're like some old fuddy-duddy with food stuck in your beard if you like a gold miner. So yeah, I do see that. Like there's everyone wants to be a tech expert right now. And so yeah, no, the numbers show that institutions are not involved almost at all. And there have been a pickup in ETF flows, which was really interesting last year because gold was acting well, but there was actually, I think, slight outflows in the ETF markets in the US and Europe. That has started to be, I think there's $5 billion went in August. So it's starting to happen. It's not a frenzy, but there is retail is starting to, the ETF flow, ETFs in the US and Europe are getting inflows now, according to the World Gold Council. So yeah, no, it's not the first innings anymore, but it's, I think your view is this could still get a little, like we haven't reached the nutty stage yet, right?
No, not a long way from there. Let's get to 5,000, bit. I'm sure we'll come back to 4,600 for a while and then we'll go, there you go, that was the top. And then, of course, it's going to have another huge lurch, probably to 6,000 to 7,000. So very confident about 5,000. One of the reasons I'm confident is the short base amongst the bullion banks is is huge. I understand they're sitting on gigantic losses right now, and they're stuck. But also, there's no supply. Like our industry, if you remember, if anyone's watched us before, Eric, we had, we bought 4 gold companies in the last 6 years. We bought Pilar Gold, Liva Gold, Tucano Gold, and recently Gold Road, all at 5 cents in the dollar. But there's been no industry investment in gold for 12 years. And even though money's flooding back now, it'll take another 2 to 3 years before you see production. So it's a super tight market with demand that's just gangbusters in China. I think China's buying every ounce of gold that the industry is producing right now. I think the numbers are totally misleading. And China's basically buying everything they can get their hands on. So really amazing setup. And I think GDXJ and all the juniors are going to double again, probably before Christmas.
Jeremy, that's a great point. Someone was asking me like, oh, what multiple of the gold production cost do you think it will get to? It's at 2 now, and it could get to 3, implying that, I don't know, maybe the average production cost is $1,300 or $1,400, and we're trading at 2 times that. And could it get to 3, which I think was some historical peak or something. But I was like, that's one way to look at it. But if you've lived through this bear market and how bad it was and how the miners got tripped up with projects that went on, losses, debt problems, restructurings, it is going to take at least another year of cash flows coming in and really sitting on a lot of money. But I would say maybe next year, this time, you might start to see big new greenfield projects announced, and maybe but like you said, real production coming online is probably 2 or 3 years away. Yeah. I mean, they don't want to be the idiot that the second the gold price has a good 2 years, they're the morons that launch $1 billion gold project and fall flat on their face again. They really, it, and I know it from owning, like looking at the African gold miners. It was a tough time. They really want to bank it and put some cash in the bank, milk before they go spending it again, right?
Oh, for sure. And the other thing what's obvious is going to happen is there's 2 big mining companies, BHP and Rio. I think everyone should know those. The 2 biggest mining companies in the world, they have no gold in their portfolio. And I've been banging on for a year now, you guys need to buy Barrick and Newmont. And everyone says, you're mad, you completely, wait, what? That's crazy. Well, until they do, their stocks are going to just suck wind and they're going to massively underperform. And the other thing is although M&A is picking up in the gold space, most of the little guys, let's say you're producing 50,000 ounces a year. A year ago, you're making $1 million a month. Now you're making 5 to 7 million a month, and life's good. And suddenly it's like, you know what? I'm really enjoying being CEO of this little company with a market cap of 300 million. I'm loving flying around in business class. Incidentally, I'll never fly business. Never, ever fly business. That's bad luck. The minute I turn left, the gold price goes down, I guarantee you. So they're suddenly also very happy just to stay in their nicely paid job. The board members are very happy to stay in their little job. So there's no M&A going on in our junior end because everyone wants to keep their jobs. So it's a very interesting phenomenon right now. But you're right, there's no supply coming on, very little supply. Demand is exploding to the upside, and we're going to see some crazy, crazy moves in gold.
Well, and also they're probably thinking like, why sell now? My stock's super undervalued. I'm not getting credit for how much money I see I'm going to be making, and let's let that play out. And maybe
I'll give an example. Of a year ago, there's a very interesting name in London, starts with S and ends in I. Sounds like Sarabi Gold. But I got a call a year ago from a headhunter saying, oh, would you be interested in taking over the CEO role of Sarabi? And I said, well, Mike's doing a good job. And he said, no, well, stock's been at 20p forever. And, we feel there's a need for a change. The board wants a change. The stock's gone up 11 times since I got that phone call.
Oh, wow.
And it shows you that Mike or Sarabi or lots of these stories where those guys took a lot of pain, a lot of abuse from shareholders, and now they're happy, but they don't want to leave. They don't want to go, hey, let's go and create the next big Equinox Gold because suddenly he's happy, his life's good, everyone's happy. There's no M&A going on. But we, on the other hand, we always put our shareholders first. So we've funded Tucano. I stepped down from the CEO role to Tucano to give it to our private equity group to run that. We just handed over Liver Gold, the biggest gold mill in Europe, to John Williamson and the Metals Group. So we're not precious about our job. We'll do what's right for our shareholders. The same with Pilar. I get calls a lot nowadays about, hey, should we think about merging? Should we do something? And of course, we'll do that because we always put our shareholders first. We're not thinking about, I want to have a nice cushy job, super paid well CEO role, as much as my wife would love that. We're all about shareholder value. So I think it's a really interesting space right now. And Pilar Gold is the first of our 4 companies that we're now turning back on next month after being shut for 18 months. Gold Road, do you remember, we talked about Gold Road to your listeners last time. Gold Road went into production only 5 days ago. Amazing, in Arizona. So really amazing. But I do think, Eric, that's probably it for us on gold. So, we bought 4 beautiful gold companies, like Pilar Gold, Liver Gold, Tucano Gold, and Gold Road. And we bought all of those big assets for less than 5 cents in the dollar. But now it's a very crowded trade in terms of new, Perth and Vancouver promoters trying to find ground, find production. And we're going to happily see the gold run, but we're not going to do another deal in gold.
Jeremy, it's worth rehashing because it was just, to me, one of the great stories of Pilar Gold, like how this came about. I remember it was the middle of COVID, and COVID was rampaging in Brazil, especially. That was a real kind of outbreak area at the time, and that mine was for sale, and nobody wanted to go down and look at it. And also there was a big question about owning an underground mine with COVID. How is it going to work versus open pit, right? Where you could be in an air conditioned truck or something. This was like a real thing. And so it was an incredible confluence of events, a lot of chaos going on, and you put a bid in and got this, kind of what you were looking for, which was these existing mines with very valuable plant already built. Yeah, I think this was built by Yamana a long time ago, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Pilar's amazing. They spent $250 million. The cost to build it today would be $500 million, and the current round that we're doing is only 70 million Canadian. And that gets us back in production, gets us initially to 40,000 ounces over the next 6 months, expanded at 80,000 ounces. So super excited about Pilar. It's the last of our 4 girls to get married to a rich fella. And, look, we did Liver Gold. We bought Liver Gold here at 30 million Canadian. The cost to build that today in Finland would be 500 million euros. We bought Tucano Gold, 3.7 million US dollars. We bought that. The biggest gold mill in northern Brazil, going to do 150,000 ounces next year. The cost to build that would be $1 billion, maybe a bit more. And then we bought Gold Road, our sweet little favorite here in Arizona. Thank you to everyone who supported this round. We're flying at Gold Road. We bought that for $5 million, and it would be at least $100 million to build today. But the important point about that one is you can't get a permit in America. So I know talking about Donald Trump and, hey, the permits are going to that's rubbish. It still takes years and years and years to get a permit for a gold mine in America. So the key is buy existing production, fully permitted, drilled out by somebody else, and you basically just run around finding the money to get them turned on. But, that trade's now done. We're now moving on from gold. Even though we know all of these four companies are going to be 10 to 20x's for our shareholders, we're now looking at the next commodity, because our business model is to buy stuff that nobody wants. And gold and silver was definitely that trade up until about 6 months ago.
Yeah, Jeremy. So you're doing a raise on Pilar, and I think you guys, restructured some liabilities, so it's in pretty good shape now. And you're right. You were doing this, and this is kind of one of your last companies, companies that you're working on in terms of getting you've gotten partners for these other ones. So it's kind of, you're right. You were doing this you were doing this at a very difficult time, and when no one wanted to do it. And so the entry points have been amazing. And I agree with you on the I think it's underappreciated, the value of the plant.
Oh yeah.
The permitting for those things and the cost. I was speaking to a chemical company, some chemical companies last week, and they were talking about that they were saying what's unappreciated is two things: the cost of building these plants.
Yep.
And then the second thing is, if you're borrowing money to build that plant, the cost of the debt has also doubled.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The overall all-in cost of building these plants has gone up tremendously. And they were in the chemical industry, which isn't doing that well, but they're like, it's underappreciated, the entry, the ticket price to build this plant. And they were, you're also bringing up the environmental permitting thing. I think almost like a plant with a permit is more rare than gold. Like there's gold in, there's gold in places, but like the trick is, can you actually process it? Because
yeah, absolutely. And I was just trying to remember what I was about to say, but it's very hard to get a permit. It's very hard to then build these mines. And by the time they're all built, it'll be 2028 and the cycle might have already rolled over. And that's why the explorers, I think, are still dead money. I'm not a big fan of explorers. I think that's a lifestyle industry for geos who can't find a job. So I'm all about buying stuff where someone else has done all the drilling, all the work, and turning them straight on. So we're really excited about Pilar. Like, it's our final hurrah, I think. It's to finally get it back in production. It was a very, very tough year for us at Pilar last year, but we went through a whole restructuring. We reduced the debt by 75%. We worked with our suppliers. And now our last shipment, just to give you an idea, when Pilar turned off, was in March of 24, was $2,000 an ounce. And today, as you said, it's nearly 3,700. So what a time to turn it back on. And if anyone, just give us a holler if you're interested. We have, Eric, of our 5 companies, because we also have tungsten. Remember, we did
pure tungsten.
We did
yes, let's not forget pure tungsten. Yep.
I'm looking like a salesman here.
Tiger Kim.
Tiger's doing great. He is flying. But we have over 1,200 investors who've supported on our 5 companies. And we're basically like private equity, but we move in lightning speed. So private equity will spend 6 months mucking around doing due diligence, spending weeks in committee meetings that go until 2 a.m. We just go, you know what, done. We've done the deal. We bought Gold Road on a handshake. We did the deal in 2 weeks. We move super fast, and we're looking for the next one. We're looking for the next deal. We'll buy it at 1 cent in the dollar and give our guys 10x. So we're like a private equity group. But I tell you what, I must be honest, I didn't expect gold to I knew gold would run, but boy, oh boy, it's a lovely feeling after all these years to see it start to move into this parabolic phase. And that's what you're going to see, a parabolic phase in gold that's coming in the next couple of weeks, parabolic. Because you remember, the bigger the base, the higher in space. That's a Gary Savage expression. And Peter Schiff's expression is always buy the highs. You've got to always buy the highs now in gold. Everyone's thinking it's run too hard. Maybe I'll wait for a pullback. Of course, it doesn't pull back. It pulled back for a day. Boom, off you go again. So very exciting times for Pilar, for Live at Tucano and Gold Road.
Well, Jeremy, you did these deals in the difficult times when no one wanted to own these things. Live has also had, when you did that, there was the power crisis in sorry, you've turned sideways. So just what's on your mind? I mean, you are very contrarian, and you're willing to go and think 3-4 years out of things that aren't hot now, but could be in the future. And I know maybe you have more patience than others, but just what's on when you look across the commodity space, you've nailed the gold move. What could be on the horizon?
Well, obviously, tungsten's a massive focus for us, Eric. We want to get Sanjong producing. Our nearest comparable is Almonty Industries, that has a 30 times bigger market cap at least than us. And we have the old Almonty team in South Korea. You and I have been to South Korea. What a great country it is. Yeah. So focused on getting Sanjong producing. We're very focused on getting production in Tajikistan producing in tungsten. I got a funny feeling, like if you look at the list of the worst commodities in the world, okay, lithium is the worst, but they deserve to be the worst because they were on a party for 5 years, partying every night, and it was a bubble, yeah? So they deserve to be in the sin bin for another 5 years. But so it's not lithium. My gut feeling is it might be nickel. Nickel is either the private jet, you're sipping the Moët Chandon or, the whatever that expensive stuff is, or you're basically looking for a cardboard box to live under in a bridge. That's nickel for you. You are basically either the richest guy in the world or you're homeless. And I think that's interesting for us, right? And the sector's so beaten up, so awful. It has a lot of appeal to us, and I think our shareholders. Let's see if we find something in nickel.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in that trade. It used to be super hot, and now it's super cold.
Yes. And I don't know the whole story. I don't know if it was that whole battery chemistry. It was going to be a key thing in the batteries, and maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. But you're right. It is. Nobody talks about nickel.
No one talks about it. Looking at a copper deal in Chile. Little producer there, but copper's kind of boring. I like something that's, because it's not beaten up, right? Copper's not beaten up. Stuff that's completely.
Still have love and hope for copper.
Yeah, there's too many believers in copper, so I want to go for something that's a bit like gold. I remember when we bought Live Gold in Finland in October of 2022, gold was 1620, and every chartist was calling for gold to go to 1300. And at the time, one of my board members was so upset that we bought Live, he resigned on the spot. So that's a great indicator for me. We like trades where you where everyone's shouting at you, they think you're mad. But Live Gold's going to be $1 billion company. It's a 5 million ounce, biggest mill in Europe. It's amazing. Live Gold. It's going to list in 2 months with John Williamson and his team at the Metals Group. So, you got to buy stuff. The best trades are always the ones that feel really bad.
Oh, at the time, I remember you were showing me the power bills in Finland, like, because the Ukraine war had happened, and like everyone was looking at that mill and the monthly power bill and going, oh my God, that mill will never be profitable with these power prices. And then they came to, and so no one was interested in Live.
No one was interested.
Mine in Finland, right in Europe, and no one wanted it.
We bought, I remember a year later, even in November of 23, when gold was still only 1,800, we bought Tucano, which honestly, Tucano is going to be a top 20 gold mine in the world. Yeah, I'm still shocked that we bought that for 3.7 million. It's got 10 million ounces, I reckon. Biggest gold mill in northern Brazil. Nobody wanted it. And I copped so much criticism from people going, you're mad. Don't you realize Great Panther went bankrupt, blah, blah, blah. They're the sort of assets we look for. And the trick is you got to find the money to buy them because everyone hates them.
Yes, that is the trick.
They're
great deals, but it's really hard to find other people that agree they're great deals too.
It's very hard. So let's see if we can pull in.
We know people probably won't be falling over themselves to buy into the nickel mine.
They do another gold deal. It's like, no, I'm done.
Oh, we want more gold deals. No, we don't want nickel.
Four's enough. We've done great. We're actually the fastest growing gold group in the world that no one's ever heard of, right? But that's fine. We're done. We're going to move on to the next thing. But in the meantime, in all seriousness, gold is going to go to 5,000 by Christmas. And just, if you're watching and you don't own gold shares, maybe buy the GDX or the GDXJ, or by all means, come and give us a shout on Pilar. I got a feeling this might be our last ever funding round for our gold groups, and Pilar's in amazing shape finally after all these years.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for the update.
Great, Eric. Love your work, mate.
Okay, thank you.